So now let's talk about maybe some fighting games in the future he can maybe be a guest character in. So I think probably the first more, I guess, obvious one would be, I guess, the next NetherRealm Studios games, and this kind of depends on what it is. So even though I was kind of really looking forward to Injustice 3 or possibly the Marvel game, I think more things are kind of pointing towards a new Mortal Kombat game. I'm guessing and hoping this is because of the 30th anniversary, and maybe they're kind of going to do like some kind of, well, speaking of Smash Ultimate, kind of a Mortal Kombat trilogy, Mortal Kombat Armageddon kind of game where they kind of use assets from MK11 and maybe like, they kind of just bring back the characters that, were in MK9 and X that weren't in 11. Regardless of what it is, if it is a new Mortal Kombat game, there's going to be guest characters. Like, it's, as much as I know a lot of people don't like it, myself somewhat included, it's going to happen. And this could be maybe Doomslayer's next chance of maybe getting a Mortal Kombat. Maybe the timing will just be better now. Granted, you're not going to have that cross-promotion opportunity, but I don't really think there always had to be a cross-motion thing. I don't know if Kratos was getting a new game when Mortal Kombat 9 came out. Maybe like God of War 3? So, and Doom Eternal I think would still be kind of relevant in people's minds at that point. And it's like, again, like sometimes Mortal Kombat, or even Injustice, or they tend to put in characters, be it like MK characters or guests that were requested in the previous game but they didn't get in. So this could be kind of like hey, he missed the last game, so let's put him in this one. Or perhaps, and this might be wishful thinking on my part, that maybe kind of the theme they'll be going with this time for guests would be more video game characters. Because I think we can agree that MKX's kind of main theme with guests was slasher horror and sci-fi horror characters. Either way, both horror, just two kind of subgenres of horror. MK11's was a little more iffy, as you had kind of a lot of them were like 80s action kind of stars, and then you had two comic guests with Joker and Spawn. I mean, you could make an argument that Spawn is maybe kind of horror, especially with the new rumored movie that whatever it's it's not a rumored movie, we just don't know when else coming out. But the idea that it's going to be more horror based. But I think the main theme of it was more so 80s action, just a couple of outliers. So maybe, whatever MK12's theme will be, assuming there are going to be guests, it'll be video game characters. And I think I want to say that would basically guarantee Doomslayer would get in. However, let's maybe put Mortal Kombat to the side. And what if I told you
there is another?
So yeah, this is a fighting game I have never talked about on my channel. It's actually a fighting game I actually really like. I just kind of forgot about since I don't really play Xbox that much. But Killer Instinct, and I actually think Killer Instinct in some ways might actually be better for Doomslayer, or at least probably more likely than a new Mortal Kombat game, or even a new Smash Bros. Game whenever that happens, if that ever does happen. And here's a couple reasons why. First of all, while Killer Instinct is not as aerial and platformy as, say, Smash Bros. Is, it is definitely, I think, it is a little more, I would say, fast-paced, a little less rigid than Mortal Kombat is. And this kind of at least might capture Doom's feel a little bit more. I know Killer Instinct isn't as violent as Mortal Kombat. However, I think you can get away with a lot more in it than you can in Smash Bros. Because there are characters with realistic weaponry. There are characters that kind of do some violent things. I mean, you have General Ram in it, for Christ's sakes, who's from an M-rated, a pretty violent game series. He's like the villain in it, and I'm pretty sure he literally first appears just stabbing, just impaling a guy on a knife. So yeah, I'm pretty sure the kind of the baggage and M-rated content that Doom has wouldn't really be as much of a problem here, especially because I feel like there's a lot more kind of crunchy kind of sound effects, like neck snapping, things like that, and there is some blood. It's just very minor compared to like Mortal Kombat. And then secondly, well, Killer Instinct and Doom already kind of have something in common, and that's Mick Gordon. Mick Gordon actually did the music for seasons 1 and 2 of Killer Instinct. This, a lot of people know him for Doom, but I actually first knew him for Killer Instinct. And, there were some banging-ass tunes, like Fulgor's theme, Cinder's theme, Arya's theme. Granted, I know, unfortunately, he's not working with Doom anymore. I don't think there's anything that says he couldn't work on a game that has the Doomslayer in it. And I know he didn't do the last season of Killer Instinct, but I think that's maybe because he went to work on the music for Doom. And, I don't think there was anything bad that happened there. Unlike the drama that happened with Doom, that would stop him from working on a new Killer Instinct game. And also, the reason I bring up Killer Instinct is because I think it is rumored that there is another one being worked on. I think the website was revamped, and there was an insider that said, there is one. I think he was an insider, a leaker or something, that said there is a new one being developed. And it's I think they do kind of need to get some exclusives, and Killer Instinct was, I think, a pretty big exclusive for the Xbox One. I mean, it was honestly kind of one of my only reasons to have an Xbox One, to be honest. So, and then here's one other thing to consider, is let's look at the guest characters that Killer Instinct had. Well, first of all, they were all video game characters. And, none of them, I think, to my knowledge, were cross-promoting anything. I do know there wasn't, because the 3 guest characters was Rash from Battletoads, my boy Arbiter from Halo, and General Rom from Gears of War. So I know there was a new Battletoads game, but I'm pretty sure that was announced way after Killer Instinct finished, if I remember correctly. I might have to double check that. I don't think there was a new Halo game, and if there, I guess there's, well, that's kind of silly, because there's always a new Halo game. So it's you're always going to cross-promoting Halo, but that's why not choose Master Chief, which I'm not complaining, because I actually like Arbiter a lot more than Master Chief. I was very happy that he was a guest character. And then General Rom, who I think the last game he was in was Gears of War 3, which was, I believe, was a 360 game. So what would he be cross-promoting? So I think they just kind of chose cool guest characters that were owned by Microsoft that they thought would fit in the game, which, hey, I thought that was great. Oh, and I said owned by Microsoft. Well, do you know who else is owned by Microsoft? No, Bethesda. Yeah, Bethesda has recently been bought by Microsoft. So, this would mean kind of easier access to Doomslayer. And yes, I was admittedly very bummed initially about that, because that would mean I have to get Doom for the Doom. I probably have to get Doom for the Xbox. Granted, I got an Xbox Series S now, so it doesn't really matter. But anyways, this would make Doomslayer a lot more accessible as a guest. If there, and this is also assuming that if there is actually a new Killer Instinct game, that there are guests. I just feel like there's such a common thing these days, especially more in the Western kind of side of fighting games, that well, I know there aren't as many Western fighting games, so it's kind of a smaller percentage, but I just kind of, it just feels like it would happen. Especially because it's there aren't as many Killer Instinct characters as there are Mortal Kombat characters, for instance, or Street Fighter or Tekken characters. So I feel like, there aren't as many things to take up a slot as, aside from making new characters, which obviously they shouldn't stop doing that, especially because a lot of new characters are really awesome in Killer Instinct. Yeah, I don't know, no one has really talked about this. I would actually really I don't know, the more I think about it, I actually would maybe sort of rather him be in Killer Instinct than in the Mortal Kombat game. Especially because, well, only one of the guest characters in Killer Instinct got a stage and music, and that was Arbiter. However, at least at least one of them did get a stage and music. None of the guest characters in Mortal Kombat ever got a stage or music outside of Kratos again in Mortal Kombat 9. So at the very least in that, he'd be more likely to get a stage and some Doom music again, and we'd already maybe have the composer for it, assuming and hoping they'd get Mick Gordon back. I think these are the kind of, if we're going to see Doomslayer in a fighting game in the future, I think it would be either potentially Mortal Kombat 12, that is happening, or a new Killer Instinct. I don't really know what else. Maybe a new fighting game IP, obviously, that I can't really predict. I don't think we should count him out of a fighting game just yet. And obviously, I'm not saying that, he needs to be in a fighting game, or the game sucks, or my life is not complete. No. I do like the Doomslayer. He's far from my favorite character in video games. I just feel like there was just missed opportunities for probably one of the coolest characters and coolest and most iconic characters in a shooting game ever. But yeah, that's about it for this video. I'd really like to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments below. Let me know why you think he's kind of had a hard time getting in fighting games despite all the kind of things going for him, or maybe what fighting games you think he could appear in the future. If you agree with what my picks were, or maybe if you thought of something that I didn't think of, definitely let me know. I'd really like to hear your thoughts. If you like this video, give it a like. Oh hell, you can dislike it. I don't care. Feedback is feedback. Also, if you do like this video, feel free to subscribe. It would help the channel out a lot. And it would also, of course, ring that bell, because you know how YouTube's algorithm is these days. And I should also mention that I do have a Discord, that it is in the description below as well. But thank you so much for checking this video. And as I always say, another time, another place. Keep being awesome.